That's our secretary. We will call this meeting to order. Good, everybody stand for the pledge. Rudy, you want to lead us, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, Jay, would you mind leading us in a word of prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for this beautiful evening. Thank you for this town and the work that we're able to do here. And we pray that this is just a fruitful time to make good decisions for our town. And we just thank you. We love you. Pray this in your name.
Thank you. First order of business, obviously, is to take care of the minutes from our last meeting. And I think everybody at least had a chance to pick up a copy that needed one when they came in the door. And if not, anybody need a copy of the minutes? Board member? Okay, we'll accept the motion.
There's a mistake on it.
I'm sorry?
It says you called the July 24 meeting to order instead of July 25.
Yeah, we better change that. Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else anybody's seen that might need to be corrected? If not, I will accept the motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes.
Thank you, Dan. Do I have a second? Mona? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting the minutes as corrected, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Thank you. The minutes will be accepted and we'll sign off on those and we'll get on with the rest of the meeting.
Sorry, I didn't flip it back over.
No, that's all right. Next item on the agenda is the financial report, and we'll turn to Brenna, our treasurer.
We have a balance of $110,000, or $110,838.94, of which $25,000 is earmarked for the Strawberry Festival and $4,000 for the basketball court.
Okay. Any questions or comments concerning the financial report? Hearing none, we will let it stand as presented. This evening, we have had someone contact us. We have a guest with us that would like to present something to us, and that is Mr. David Bruckman, our Clark County surveyor. So David, if you would come forward, we'll see what you have to tell us.
Good.
Is this loud enough for everybody to hear? Good. What I was asked, I do art, and obviously have been a land surveyor for 55 years, but my big hobby is studying megalithic structures all over the world. And one of the most iconic of those megalithic structures is these stone circles that we see in different communities over the world. And the most famous of those is Stonehenge in England. which is basically a celestial time clock. It shows you when the spring equinox is, the summer solstice, the fall equinox, and then the winter solstice. And that light shines in from a marker out from the circle of stones, and it shows the people. And what Stonehenge represented basically was the transition of hunter-gatherers to sedentary farmers and village people. It's a very place really of our society overall. And that occurred between 7,000 and 10,000 years ago. Our community here is an agritourism community. We're basically involved in the production of agricultural items, and I was asked to possibly create an artwork that might be something that the town would identify with. And so when I was asked that, and I was told Brent, I said, well, if you really want to do something really, really cool, bigger than life, why not recreate something like a circle of stones, a great circle of stones. In 2017, I created the Buffalo Art Park in New Albany. If you guys know where my giant buffalo are in New Albany, they're 17-ton piece. I call it the Tonka East and the Tonka West. To celebrate the buffalo trace, I've been asked to show the U.S. Forest Service where the buffalo trace went through the U.S. Forest in Bedford. And I told Angie Doyle, the forester, I said, well, I can do that. And of course, she was on the phone. She said, well, they said you tell us. I said, oh, man, I would be glad to assist you, but there's not a person, including Les or Rudy or anybody else, that can walk in a forest after 250 years of timbering and tell the difference between a logging road and a possible buffalo trace. But I happen to know that William Rector in 1805 was hired to survey the buffalo trace as an Indian treaty boundary. So I knew his notes, which were compass and chain notes, very kind of archaic, but it would, and it started basically at the Falls of Ohio and then goes and proceeded west. And if you let me follow Mr. Rector's notes, then I'll show you where that is. And I accomplished all that and did that. Took a year. You got to watch what you volunteer for. But anyway, that became kind of nationally recognized as something that was, we all got as kind of a certificate for having located this ancient trail. And during that period, I was working on a hotel project in New Albany, right there at Daisy Lane and State Street, where the new hotel is up on top of the hill. And the buffalo trace actually just north of there, or at least the one that Mr. Rector surveyed. What I found in my studies was that there's multiple traces, not just one. But Mr. Rector picked one that was active at the time or whatever. Because every time we get timber falling across any road, we've got to go around that. So there's a lot of multiple forks, and there's a lot of ancient trails. One of the most ancient trails is our Highway 60, believe it or not, is one of those ancient footpaths that existed for probably since the last ice age. Mastodons, woolly mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, dire wolves, giant buffalo, giant sloths, all were migrating through this area, creating these footpaths, and the Native Americans followed those. And Highway 60 is one of those, and it goes right down Main Street forward. Not the highway out here, that's the highway, right? So you have one of these ancient trails here too. So the buffalo are really important, or bison, we're calling bison, that's what they really are. And I understand from Les, it's now been adopted as the IU's mascot. It is the bison again now. Do they call it buffalo or bison?
They call it bison.
Bison, okay, so bison. That's what this is. They're really not buffalo at all. That was the way they did that. But at any rate, when I was talking with Brent about an artwork, I suggested possibly that would be really cool, because the most iconic way to celebrate an agritourism community is with a celestial time clock that showed the ancient peoples exactly when the spring equinox was, March 21st, the summer solstice was June 21st, the fall equinox, which is September 21st, and then the winter solstice, which is December 21st. And of course, that December 21st was really, really special, because the sun, if you'll notice in the mornings when you get up, it's always farther to the south. It just keeps moving, it looks like it's going to fall off. But then on December 21st, it finally is a rebirth. So that represents the rebirth of the sun. It's coming back. So this is a really cool thing, and you have the perfect field. You've got and I surveyed all this. This was the Wright farm originally. This is Les's family. And I surveyed that originally in 85, Les, when Tommy and Mary Frances bought that from the Wrights. And now that got deeded. I guess it is deeded to the Parks Board overall. But this is basically a 14-acre grass field. And lo and behold, it's just totally facing the sun, pretty much. And it's wide open. There's nothing blocking the sun, so it would be a perfect place. So I proposed possibly to create a circle of stones, basically oriented to the summer solstice, which is about north 41 degrees east, and Joshua Casson has been researching the angle of each one, the equinoxes and the solstices, so that we can align all of that perfectly if we get to do this project. This was all kind of predicated on the fact that I guess Eli Lilly had put up, was it $150 million or something for $250 million for artworks in Indiana. That's pretty nice if we can get something, right? Yeah, that's really cool. So I proposed this about a month ago. I came in and talked to everybody. Steve liked the idea. He's of course, he's a proponent of the big stuff also. Something that's bigger than life in a way. And this totally will be. Now, the Stonehenge Circle of Stones is the only circle of stones. It's incomplete now. It's not, I'm pretty sure the Romans, when they come in and took over Great Britain, stole a lot of those stones. Somebody did because they're gone. The whole thing is not complete. And we have a picture I'll show you here in a minute what it should have looked like. But that circle of stone also has lintels on the top, indicating that it had a roof on it. And so my proposal is to, I'm going to call it Stonehenge at all. That's a name that's associated with England. So I'm calling it Indiana Starhenge. It's a circle of stones. It's a celestial time clock. Proposed it to be about this location in that field. And this would still be grass parking. This could still all be grass parking the way it is. But it would be a disembarkment place for the Monon Trail, which has really come a long way. Brenda, do you know how much they spent on this section? Was it $28 million that they spent?
$29 million on those sections within the town.
So that's been spent here.
Not in Gordon, but along the South Monon Trail with each portion of it that they have completed within town limits of each one.
Okay.
I don't know what they spent in this, just ours.
But overall, and that, is this the 60 miles that get to
The
Bedford?
68 miles to Bedford.
Gets to Bedford. And it'll become, when it's all finished, a really, and Shelley and I ride bikes, so we're all really excited about getting to ride our bikes on the trail. But this would be a place where the people that are riding the trail would have a place to get off and seek shelter if they needed to, and get in and maybe sit and relax. I think there's 1 million people that come every year to Stonehenge and visit it. It's a big tourism thing, great big thing. I've not personally been there and seen it, but I've studied, seen documentaries on it, seen a lot of stuff, and it's just, no one knows how they done that. Those stones, Stonehenge, weigh anywhere from 100 ton to maybe 500 ton, and they're like 6 feet in the ground and 14 feet out of the ground. And how they quarried those stones, transported those stones, stood those stones up, and then put levels on the top of it, put a roof on it. How they did it, we don't know what Neolithic peoples knew. We have no idea how they done that. But this is true all over the world. There's like the Great Pyramid of Giza. No one knows how those pyramids were built. We couldn't do it even today. So that's a big mystery. It'd be nice if you could solve the mystery. I would love to be the one to solve that mystery. I think it has to do with meditation. But at any rate, we're not there. But this is an artist's rendering of what it would have looked like without the roof on. And you can see these are called sarsen stones in the middle, these big tall ones, and that's basically where the roof timbers would have come up at an angle and created the roof over the whole thing. And I'm not saying that we're gonna bury stones 5 or 6 feet in the ground. That's a waste of a lot of stone and a lot of heavy, work we have to do, but we can basically, once we decide on the size of it, and that's what I was thinking, if we do that, the Parks Board, or the Friends of the Parks Board wants to do this or follow through that, then we have to know what size that could be. I proposed it to be about 108-foot diameter. You could change that to an 80-foot diameter if you want to, because it's gonna be a great big gazebo in a way, with a roof. Yeah, I showed you that other picture. We'll go back to that picture there in the first one. Yeah, here's the circle of stones, and I proposed to put a roof on it over top with a cupola over top, and this would be windows up there to let light in. And these are all the stones basically will be about 5 foot square at the base and stand up. We've got another picture that shows, if we could go to that Lucy Hicks Nichols right here. This is my sculpture of Lucy Hicks Nichols, and it's a 9-foot stone that weighed about 10 ton, and it's 5 foot square at the base, and it's basically 9 foot tall. And they had, I don't know if you guys know who Lucy Hicks Nichols was, but she was a runaway slave from the Hicks farm in 1861 in Tennessee, and she had heard that the Union soldiers were in Tennessee, and so she and her husband fled their farm and hooked up with the New Army infantry, and of course they gave her husband a blue ball cap and a rifle. He didn't last long probably, but he don't know what's happened to him. But she had a daughter with her at the time when she was fleeing the farm, and the daughter died in Vicksburg. But she stayed with the New Army infantry all the way through to Gettysburg. And then after Gettysburg, she didn't have a place to go, so she just came home to New Army, because that was all her friends, people that she had taken care of. Nobody legs she had to cut off and amputate and all the stuff she had to do. It was amazing. And she was the nurse for 4 years. In 1885, they sued the federal government for a pension, and they all went to Washington, D.C. to sign, and they took a photograph of all of them, and it's one of those real long photographs. I don't know how they did that during the Civil War in that time period, but it's 185 guys or so all strung out, but right in the middle was this small community black lady. And, the government people took one look at that and said, oh, no way, we're not paying minorities a pension. That ain't gonna happen. But the Surgeon General for New Albany knew that was gonna happen. He sent a letter with Lucy that said, during times of war, the Surgeon General picks his staff. Lucy's my nurse. She gets a pension. Oh, they had to honor that. And so she kind of broke the mold for minorities to serve in our military. And so she actually became our most famous citizen way after she passed away. I forget what year she actually passed away, 1890 or something, 95. But anyway, they asked me to do a sculpture of her coming out of a stone, like coming out of slavery. And so I created that stone. But this is the same type of stone that we can get. This is from the Bedford Quarry up there. It's called the Empire Ledge. It's very, very fine stone. It's really great to carve. And so I would use the same type of stones. This is 5 foot square. It's got a straight vertical back, and the front is slanted, so it's only 2 foot wide, or 2.5 foot wide at the top, where it's 5 foot here. And I would propose to do the same type of stones in that circle, so that each one of the stones could be carved, possibly, in some storyboard thing. Or we could do, if you would jump to my Buffalo Art Park, let's go to the Buffalo Art Park. Now, go to the other one, Brenda, if you could, that has the plaques. Yeah, now, what we did there was that we incorporated these are the same stones, basically, and they're holding up an arch that says Buffalo Art Park. And this basically talked about our benefactors who had put money up to do this. these plaques are about the Buffalo Trace, and this is actually on the national, both Lucy Hicks Nichols, a sculpture for there, and this are on the National Register of Historic Places, both of them. If we are able to do this monument we're talking about for Borden, I think it'll make the National Register also. But it's a big deal, and there's a lot of decisions that have to be made in terms of the size, exactly how we're going to do the storyboard, but it's really about the history, not just of Borden, but the history of America, history of the Native American peoples, the first families that were here. That's what this sculpture is about here. This is about that first family that arrived in Borden some 18,000 to 20,000 years ago. We don't know who they were or what they really looked like, but I did this in honor of this I wanted to do 12 foot tall. And it would be a marker, one of those marker stones where the sun will come up over top of this and point directly to the center of the monument, indicating that this is the one I wanted to do for the summer solstice. This one I would do for the spring equinox, because they were always migrating in the spring. Could be a marker that could be over there. And then I have, and one of the things about bronze, which is really cool, and all across the world there are remnants of the stonework that was there from the Greek Parthenon to the Temple of Jupiter in Baalbek, Jordan, where one stone weighs 1,650 tons. If you can imagine a stone that big, 15-foot square, 45-foot long, perfect 90 degrees, and how they quarried that, how they moved it, how they raised it 30 feet in the air to form, the base of this, not base, but it's a lintel, believe it or not, of that Temple of Jupiter. But the cool thing about bronze, there were a lot of bronzes all over Europe also, but almost all those got melted down for munitions, for casings. They saw those bronzes and just mainly grabbed them up and melted them down to make armaments. So we don't have many bronzes. But the cool thing about bronzes is that you can do colored patinas. This particular sculpture is a celebration for what we call the white buffalo calf, the white bison calf, I should say, is very sacred to the Native Americans, and like 1 in every million bison babies that are born turn out to be white, and it's a sign to the Native Americans that change is coming. There's a change in the air, and so I did that sculpture in honor of the white buffalo calf, and of course you see he's the white here, and the bison were chased by cougars, panthers, everything you can think of chased him, and at nighttime all of the herd would get in a circle, and the bulls would stand guard and bellow out at the panthers and everything to keep them at bay. Right, so that's what he's doing. He's bellowing out at these circling panthers, looking for some way to create an attack, whatever. So I thought it was iconic to do that. It would be a good thing for the American Native Americans and stuff, because it's very historic that way. So that's what these two are, and they could be used as marker stones that are out from the circle of stones, but they mark the different season changes from March 21st to June 21st to September 21st to December 21st. It's kind of amazing that's all the 21st, isn't it? But this is another one that's a sculpture I've been working on, not complete, but it's a mother and a baby, and I thought possibly about using this for the winter solstice, because it's a rebirth. Here we have a mother giving birth to a child. It could be a stone that could be used as a marker stone, and this is all in the beginnings of trying to come up with a concept overall for the way to tell that story. And so that's what we're here tonight too, is just to discuss that, to introduce it to everybody, to see if that's something that your 501c3 is interested in applying for a grant for, to do. I know this seems like it might be a little far-fetched and a lot of work and bigger than life. It is. It would take a while to do it, but we first have to come down to the number one question that I keep getting asked: what's this going to cost? Well, I don't know. We have to get it designed first. and then we could come up with a number, and we would pad that enough to make sure that we've got enough to get it completed over time. And it basically is just a history storyboard where people can come in out of the rain. A lot of them at the Stonehenge, they come in and they're yogis and whatever, and they sit and just sort of hum, you know, and get in tune with the magic of the stones. I call it the talking stones, because those stones all over the world tell us a story without ever verbalizing anything, but there's a story with them of how they got created, what they meant to that community. But this particular one is a celebration of the transition from hunter-gatherers to agriculture and sedentary people, village people, which is the basis of our society today. We still gather mushrooms. How many of you hunt mushrooms? We still go out and gather, you know, some roots. We like sassafras, but we like some different things that we can use. But we're predominantly tied to a grocery store, unfortunately, or our own gardens, right, for our daily consumption. But this is another stone that is kind of a first family stone also, that this is the back side of it, which shows this young man. And what this stone is, and this is one of those tragedies that happens to town. In 1961, I was 11 years old, and we had this really, really cool, iconic Parthenon courthouse. There's 4 columns standing there at the courthouse in New Albany now. But they were the front of this awesome, incredible, but they knocked it down. Unbelievable. And this is one of those, the stepping stones. See, this was a step that was in that building. And the reason I know that this came from the courthouse is that Charlie Condor was the county surveyor in 61, and he was so upset with them that he had a lot of these broken stones hauled out to his farm on Powderhouse Lane. And after he passed away, his widow asked me to come out and do some surveying, and I saw those stones. I asked her the story, and she told me, and so I traded all my work I was doing for all the stones, and that still cost me $3,000 to get them moved. But this is one of them. It's made of Bedford limestone, a really, really great material. We go to the front side of that. This is the front side, which is a mother and a child, and they're carrying whatever. She's got a sack sort of on her back. I'm limited there to what I could do because it's just a broken stone. I don't have a whole body of things that I could carve, so I got them cramped into that. But that's one of the stones that could be a marker stone for this celebration of the solstices or the equinoxes. You all know what equinox means? Yes, you know what equinox means?
Yeah.
It means perfect 12-hour sun and 12-hour darkness.
Okay, yeah.
During the summer, we're light until 9, 10 o'clock at night, right? But then it starts waning again. And so then we have a fall equinox, that's September 21st, which happens to be Shelley's birthday. And that's when it's 12 hours sunlight and 12 hours darkness again. And then it moves on into the solstices, which is the movement of the sun across the sky. And so this is just a celebration of a very iconic, it's a celestial time clock is what it really is. But it shows that transition from hunter-gatherers to agricultural society, which I thought would fit for Borden. Maybe it doesn't. I still think it might. So I'll be glad to take any questions that anybody has this evening about it. But the next step would be saying that yes, you're inclined to saying that we want this for Borden. Is this something that you want for Borden? And if you do, then how big do you want it to be? And then we can work on what it might cost to produce all of this. And once we've got that, then we can apply for the grants and through the foundation. And there is money out there for this kind of thing. And this is not going to be inexpensive. It's going to be pretty expensive, but it's not costing the town anything whole. One of the things that Randy Cutter asked me when I talked to him about it, he said, well, anything you got to create, you got to have funds to maintain it. You know, so if you create something, how are you going to maintain it? Well, he's right about that. So hopefully, just like our state parks today, when you go to state parks, they have these, what do we call them, barcodes or QR codes. And you can go up and you can donate to that park if you want, or whatever. So there's ways to possibly raise money for any maintenance. You're already maintaining the field and stuff, and not gonna be maintenance on the stones, but there could be some maintenance there. And Randy's exactly right. If you create something, you have to know how you're going to maintain it. So that's another item that you have to consider if we create something of this nature. But I'd be glad to take any questions that anybody might have about it, and the feasibility of it. Steve, you got any thoughts back there?
I've heard you a couple times with this, I love the idea, I think this would be so special for our town to be able to bring it to reality. To me, it's almost like we go that we get a total no, and we can't afford it, or it's not feasible, or whatever, I don't know why we don't step forward, in my opinion.
Well, thank you for your comments on that. It's exciting for me to propose it, and I've been fortunate to create some pretty cool stuff. And like, this would be, wow, this would be just really iconic because it'll change tourism. We don't have anything like that in America today. It would be really iconic all the way around. And I know Borden is not the biggest community there is, but you've got a park that it fits in perfectly if you so choose to do that. And that's what I'm here this evening. So any other questions? Rudy, do you have any comments?
Sorry about this.
That's two things.
What kind of a timeframe do you think it would take to get it completed?
I was hoping somebody would ask that question. And I have to say that what would happen, I'm 75, so I'm not going to live forever, but I'm very, very healthy and very blessed with good health. So I feel like that I've got enough time left in me to get this built. I wouldn't have time probably to carve every stone that could be carved. It could be carved. Because this could be just an ongoing thing where you have different artists come in and carve a stone into different, maybe it's a Native American scene, maybe it's a W.W. Borden scene about his life. He was bigger than life, you know, he gave free education to people. It was free to go to the Borden Institute. And there were no professors. I don't know if you all know that or not. There were no teachers. You studied what you wanted to study. He would take the train everywhere and gather books and bring them back to the Institute so that people could study whatever they wanted to study. Wouldn't that be a breath of fresh air if we had a school like that today? That didn't cost a kid anything, like this young man Joshua just met today. Just very much interested in history, but he wouldn't be stuck in the same, nothing wrong with our school system, I'm not knocking that at all, that just seems to be really benevolent, and Mr. Borden was able to do that. And so it would be a really cool sculpture that could be done of that, and him handing out books to kids could be one that's done. But our first step would be to decide on exactly how big. Once I do that, then I'll go to the quarries up at Borden, and I'll pick the stones out. And they have I think that's about 150-acre field that they've got up there, and it's just lined with stones. And they've got each stone categorized to the size and the weight, and so you can tell them what you're interested in. That's what I did for the Buffalo Art Park, and Lucy, I told them what size stone I wanted, and they'd say, oh, that's in row 12, and it's stone number 355, or whatever. And you go up there, and it's unbelievable. They drive you through this field, and all these stones are laying out there, and you get to pick your stones. So once I would do that, we would get those bought immediately with the first round of monies that we would spend would be to purchase the stones and get that done. Second is the transportation, to get them transported here. Not a small item either, because you could probably only carry 2 of these stones at a time on a great big tractor trailer stuff, because they're pretty massive, pretty heavy. But we were able to, from our Buffalo Art Park, we brought in stones that weighed 17 ton, and they would come on, one stone would come on that tractor trailer. So it cost much for that. We would try to get that purchased, and once that was there, then what my vision is that this field that you have is flat, but I would raise that area up where it's going to be. Well, I'd raise that up about 3 to 4 feet, which would be the level of the Monon Trail, which is a little higher than the field, because you want it to sit what I call monumental. You don't want to be low, so we would wanna fill that area in and back on down, and then, you know, we would, have contractors to come in and bring the dirt in to do that, to build that up around that to where it was high enough and mud mill enough that then we could then, build footings in, and I would set all these stones, cause these type stones are square based at the bottom, so we don't have to bury them, we would just sit them flat on that concrete footing. And then they would be ready to receive the lintel stones on top. There's something like, I think it's gonna be somewhere around, 45 stones that are very large, and this size and bigger. And then the lintel stones also would have to be purchased, so all those would be made by the Bedford quarry people. You know, we'd have to cut the lintels out, which would be what's on the top of these stones and tying them all together. But once we were done that, I'm still trying to answer your question there, but once we, have purchased all that, that's gonna be the major purchase that we're gonna do, is getting these stones and getting them here. And the second, I was very fortunate that, you all know Paget Crane Service in New Albany. Did you know Jim Paget? He's a personal friend of mine, for years, and when I went to this story that I wanted to create the Buffalo Art Park, I told him I can't bring those to my place, my farm in Floyd County. I lived in Floyd County at the time, we live out here now. But, you know, I'd have to bring them to your compound there on Culver's and Pearl Street in New Albany. And I'd have to, you know, be here maybe a year carving them, and he'd say, well, what else do you need? He was just awesome. I mean, it was incredible as a benefactor to it. And of course, he would, when those stones came in, he'd set them off with his crane and a place where I could carve them. When the winter time come, he'd let me move them into one of his buildings. That was nice, because it gets a little tough out there in the winter time to work outdoors. But Paget would be involved, or someone like them. I think the Paget family are still very close to him. Big Jim is gone, but young Jim and his sister are there, and I think that they're the ones that set Lucy Higgs Nichols, the sculpture I did that. They just show up and I tell them what I need, and they want to support arts also. So they actually didn't charge me anything for that. They would have to be involved, obviously, in some construction. So it might take maybe 6 months or a year to actually construct all the stones and get them all stood up and standing up. Nathan Grimes is an engineer with Renaissance Design, and he has agreed that he would be our engineer, because we have to submit this to the state for approval, because it's a building, and so it has to have an engineer stamp on it. And Nathan has agreed to do that. I don't know what he's going to charge for it, whatever, but we do have an engineer in place that's going to, you know, I've got it as a land surveyor, I can figure the thing out, but it takes an engineer stamp to get state approval. But Nathan's going to do that, so we've got that in place. Go ahead.
I think this idea is great, I really do, but I just sit here and wonder if we've got enough forward-thinking individuals in our community to see this through. This is not going to happen overnight, and as long as there's someone like you around to drive it, it can be successful. But you and I both know that we're getting to that age where we're not going to be around forever. If we can find the right people that's interested in helping support this, I think it would be great. I really do. It can bring in a lot of people to this community.
Yeah, and that's the reason I asked Joshua Kesher to help me. Joshua's 28. He's brilliant. You know, he can pick up where I leave off. You know,
He tells me he does all your work now.
Fortunately,
Tell him about your stamp.
Fortunately, he is a breath of fresh air. I was fortunate to hire him as our first deputy surveyor, and he runs the office basically. I got kind of talked into that. I've never been a politician, don't wanna be a politician now, can't wait till my term is over, so I can just be free again and just be a surveyor without having to go in and worry about what I say is politically correct or not. It's very difficult to be politically correct, and it is. I don't have any expertise in that. I'm liable to call a spade a spade. I'm liable to say something people don't really like. So I can't wait for my term to really be over with. But fortunately, there's some young people that we've got that are very, very competent that could follow up with that list and
Yeah, if
consider
we could find that group of people
Yes.
that,
It's
willing to get in at the ground level here.
Yeah, it's exactly what you're talking about. It's not just one person's vision at all. It's a community thing. The community has to want it. The community has to be involved in it. Rudy has to be, I mean, he's the perfect person to be following with it and everything else. He's young enough and strong enough, you know. I pick on Rudy. But, you know, and Steve, you're not fragile in any way, are you, Steve?
I don't know, depends on who you ask.
I know what you mean. But yes, it's excellent, about how do you gain that support? And that's what we're here for, is just to show it, talk about it, and see if it's something that Borden wants to do, because I totally think it's feasible. I think it fits an agritourism community really well. And it is gonna be very iconic if we get it done. We ain't like it in the United States at all.
I think it's something we're gonna have to sort of let soak in for a little bit.
I'm in a hurry. These days, I don't hurry at all on stuff. I got plenty to do already. But I think it'd be really cool to be able to bring that and make it happen.
Yeah.
Especially since Eli Lilly has put all this money up anyway, and they're looking for artworks. I think if we proposed something that was only gonna cost them $100,000 or $200,000 or whatever, you wouldn't get a grant. But
Lily is especially interested in artwork right now, they really are.
they really are, and I'm proud that they are, because we need that artwork in our communities. But I think that the bigger you plan something, the more likely you're gonna be able to get it. Yes, Rudy?
You've purchased this granite, what they call it.
Yes.
Do you have any rough idea of just what the cost of purchasing stones might be?
Well, again, the Bedford Quarry, the Empire Ledge, at that particular time, this was in 2017 when I did that, Nate Kelly, I met, he was the manager up there. And they're very much interested in promoting artworks in Indiana. So I got the stones there for like, it was only $1,000 a piece. I don't know what they would charge somebody a piece. It was amazing. He even actually come to our grand opening, to promote the Bedford Quarry, because they want it to be Indiana limestone. They want to be the place where these stones come from. And, you know, that Empire Ledge is named Empire Ledge because there was so much stone went out of there to build the Empire State Building. They changed the name of the quarry to the Empire Ledge because there were train loads of stone went up there now. And that quarry is still there, and those stones are still there. So really, that's a great question, but that's, I was very I only needed a few stones.
Right.
You know, we wound up buying, six.
Total of this project would be about how many?
Altogether about 45 plus the lintel stones too. So, you know, a total of 60 stones probably, of some magnitude. The lintel stones would weigh probably 10 foot long and 2 foot square.
Well, it's not a crazy amount, I mean, it's a doable amount, especially with granite.
Yes, it has to, the grant has to be in play. I don't think board can afford, I can't afford it. But, that's all the things that we have to contemplate.
I think you've got to have that driving force, because I can remember when Bedford, or it was really Ulitic,
Really?
and what's the next little town right above them that you don't ever go through? No, it's not. But anyway, they were going to erect a pyramid, and it was planned, but it didn't happen because interest died. And that's what scares me, about taking on something like this
Mhm.
without making sure we've got real ongoing interest. I would love to see it happen. In fact, I would fit on one of those stones myself.
Yes, you're pretty iconic yourself.
Put you under one.
I have to get a tall one for you.
But I do think we need to let it soak a little bit and maybe come back and.
No, that's what I'm here for, is just to propose that, I've got time on my hands, so it's just something I think is just really, really cool and would be incredible.
If anybody else has got any comments, I'd like to hear them now, because we do need to get on with
Yeah,
the
your
meeting
meeting.
tonight.
Yes. Any other comments or?
Well, I will tell you that he proposed it to the park board, and the park board was interested in it, and, a good project. Now, I mean, it would have to be a 501c3 that would apply for the funding, so
Yes.
that's where the Friends of the Park would come involved
Yes.
with it. But if once, the Friends of the Park agreed and said to the park board, yes, we'd like to do it, then since it's a major development of the park, they have to take it to a town council meeting to get over it.
Right. And one of the things that I want to do is, we want to get these, equinoxes and solstices, the bearing of those figured out. That's what Joshua and I are working on, is that we've got a place where I want the center of the circle to be in the park. And that gives us a mathematical coordinate. But what is the actual bearing for the spring equinox, the summer solstice? What is the bearing of those? So we can set these markers out there to where the sun comes up over top of those on those days. And then it's a celebration of that time. We want that time clock to be accurate. So September 21st, which is Shelley's birthday, I'm going to be out there and I'm going to watch that sun come up. And I'm going to turn an angle to it from this center point. I'll have that one figured out. And then in December, if we're still all talking about this, I'll do the winter solstice. And I'll get that one right to exactly when it comes up. And I'll get that alignment. So these alignments are correct. And then next spring, before we set the other stones, then I would be there those days of June 21st, which is the summer solstice, and March 21st, which is the spring equinox. So that's as a surveyor, we'll be able to figure that out.
I can see this all tying in with our lake and everything that we're talking about for this community as a whole. It can come together. I can see it.
Take a deep breath.
But I'm not
It's a
going to
big
be
deal.
around long enough to support it.
Well, I'm
Somebody
hoping.
else is going to have to do it.
Yes, I totally agree with that. So that's really, it's reason it has to be a community effort, and a community vision, and people like Joshua that can carry on, possibly, if I'm gone. But I think that I'll be able to do it 2 years max. I think I'm still going to be healthy. I can get around pretty good. So hopefully I'll be around to see this thing be that for sure. And then it's your baby after that to take and maintain whatever. But thank you for all listening to it. If you have anything else, I'd be glad to.
Thank you for your interest in our community and trying to come up with something that could be very useful in the future.
Yes, my community too. Most people don't know my history. You know where Polk School is? Up River Road.
I do.
That's where I grew up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so this is my community too. We just sort of moved back here 4 years ago. We bought 22 acres from Larry Martin, and that's where our farm is. It's right just south of the church. And we're really pleased with everything that we've done and created. You're welcome. I have a circle of stones, standing stones on my farm already. Not that size, but it's just stones that, you remember Judy Lewis and John Lewis? You remember that iron bridge that in 85?
Oh, yeah. You got some of those stones.
I got them all. Yeah, I called, I seen all those stones in the woods over there.
You're the guy.
Yeah. And I called Mrs. Lewis up, And at that time, John had just passed.
Yeah.
And I told her what I wanna do, and she said, oh, I can't sell those stones. Those were John's stones.
Yes, I can.
So a couple years would go by, and I'd call her up, and she'd say, oh, I can't sell those stones. Those were John's stones. And then in 2000, I called her, and she said, oh, you only got a bunch of stones? I'm ready to sell those. And she was just fine. She got over all that, and I wound up, there's 375 of those stones. And I still have some of them. And one of those is that one that not just at the courthouse, but I've got, that's my standing stone circle of some of them, and I've made different sculptures out of the others over the years and stuff. But that's where that stone came from, was from that iron bridge and the pillars.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Old business. And, first thing we have, is committees, membership committee. Have we done any more memberships since the last time?
We've just gotten a few here and there for, bingo that's joined.
But we
and,
haven't sold any
bricks.
more bricks or no
No, I
more
have
benches?
not.
Okay. Concerts by the creek, we just had one, got one left for the season. Who can tell me about what's going on there?
Jamie Settle, I know, Nick got fired her, she's from Ohio, but I think she's gonna end up bringing a full band.
How did we just happen to get her all the way from Ohio?
She knows Nick.
No,
And
oh,
Nick, and there's a bunch of people at Amazon where Nick works that is followers of her and stuff.
fantastic. Anything we need to do to get ready for that?
No, we need to decide what we're doing. I know we took a
Well, those
survey at
burgers
bingo.
were good.
They were,
Those burgers were good.
Well, we got some left, we can cook them for you.
Good.
we'd like to propose that we take the leftovers and it's our turn to do, the Weaver Green that we have the burgers and hot dogs, so that's to do that. Danny Terry said they were in the building.
You're all in charge of that, not me.
As long as we don't wait too long until it's cold out there.
Okay, we're going to fish. Any questions? Everybody happy with the fish? That's done. Concerts by the creek, we solved. Amphitheater, do we have anything new to add concerning the amphitheater? Have we done any more on, speakers or anything like that?
No, they're working out great, the sound system is.
Okay?
I have a question. Did you get the quote from someone about the shade?
Got on vacation.
Century Walk. Century Walk's been put in, I think. It's
Yes.
Complete.
Need to work on fundraiser or something to finish it. We got,
Oh, we got more to put up.
yes.
I haven't heard those horns being played.
Well, go yell at them.
I haven't.
Go play.
I drive by there every so often hoping somebody's gonna be making music.
I saw certain. There was somebody this morning when I was down at the park and there was a.
Good, good.
Last Saturday, I was playing in the band there.
Anybody have a question about the Century Walk? Hearing none, we're gonna move to ball fields and overall park care. Ball fields, first thing I wanna say about ball fields is we've let the grass grow in the ball fields a little bit too much, I think. And it's gonna be a little difficult to get out. I don't know whose problem that is, whether that's the Friends of the Park or whether that's the park board. But, I know that the crabgrass is pretty heavy in at least one of the fields.
More than one.
More than one? Well, we need to sort of resolve that between the park board and if we can possibly get you some help as far as tilling. I think I can still possibly get a field for nothing.
I don't know if you wanna fill it,
Excuse me?
you'll fill in all that new soil.
I'm not sure about the new ones, but the softball field might use it. I don't know.
You could do that one, yeah.
I don't know. But somebody needs to decide that, and I guess that's the park board that needs to, decide what needs to be done, and if you need some support from us, I think we'll be willing to do that.
I think the last thing we discussed at the park board meeting was reaching out to the youth league also to be a little more active in the care and upkeep of the parks as well, especially since they don't have to deal with concessions and things. So, and that their price is so low on everything. That was our
Yeah.
last discussion.
Okay, maybe that's, you need to
Yeah.
get with the,
Yeah, that's what we've discussed, is we're gonna try to get and meet and plan with them, because
right,
they're talking, and I'm seeing on their posts, they're wanting to try to start fall leagues. If they wanna either do fall, softball, or baseball, or if they wanna even try to do soccer, like, they've gotta be able to prove, or
Yeah.
they need to have us step in to help with maintenance and upkeep of it, cause I mean, when we went and walked for the park sign, we noticed sheds were open, some equipment was left out. We know there was a team that supposedly said they were gonna practice on our fields, but we've not seen them practicing and stuff, so we don't, like. we
I don't
just-
think there's any question but what the school's gonna be back down there this year, because they're not gonna get their softball field ready. They were hoping to get ready,
Yeah, and their field doesn't look good either.
and so, it's,
When will they,
excuse me?
how many more years roughly are they gonna stay at the park?
Probably one.
They were hoping to be out of there this year.
Right.
So
And
they
the
really
top
were.
priority is, the top priority to the school of this project is the softball field.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't know what happened, but the whole school project seems to be growing up in grass and weeds right now.
Looks all, yeah.
With a lot of water underneath of it.
Yeah, it looks pretty rough.
That's the wettest spot in that whole farm, is what they got. Moving on. You had something you wanted to bring up about,
I have a quote here on the gutters for,
okay,
dugout.
that's part of the ball fields.
Yeah,
Mr. Liaison.
yeah, well, I had a company called Gutter Solutions, it's an Amish-owned business. They do very good work, they've done work for me at home. They put gutters down south on all of the dugouts, which is 8 of them. Was $2,600. And while they're there, they'll look at on the other building, and if that needs adjusted or whatever, they take care of that, included in the price.
2,600, you say, for the 8 dugouts?
So that's the gutters down at, the big gutters down south, and then the rest of the.
They do good work. Well, is that the ones off Kansas Church Road up there?
Yeah.
All right, Beck's Mill.
Yeah.
They moved to Beck's Mill now. Yeah. They've done a
He
lot.
came right out when I called him, he was there within just 2
Yeah,
days.
they do really
They said he
good
couldn't,
work.
he was really far behind, he could give us a quote. If you think you wanna do it, you probably ought to get on the list.
Yeah, they do really good.
Did you get a
Yes.
second quote? Was there a second quote?
So it would be the park board that would, that does the, park thing, so the park board would wanna say it was a go to get that done, and then ask for
I
help.
was gonna ask, the park board, got 2 members back there, one serving both ways. If there's any support there financially from the park board for these gutters, or are you expecting all $2,600 to come from Friends of the Park?
I believe we'd be able to help out. I have to find a meeting. Do you have that written down?
I don't think you guys voted on anything.
I know, I was just looking at like our fund, I think our fund just have a strong idea. I do know I've had the gutters for the main building quoted for in the past by a gentleman who he kind of grandfathered into helping run his grandfather's gutter business out of Salem. He's a family friend who attended youth group for when my parents were youth pastors. And he's quoted the one building before. I've not been back out in touch with him.
That building don't need gutters, so, just so you know.
That's building four.
The concession stand.
The concession building don't need gutters, they just need to be realigned.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I haven't come out and looked at, like, possibly realignment. I know we had, there was, at one point I knew there was mention of the bird's nest or stuff, you know, in there, he said he could do gutters.
Softballs are in there, so,
Yeah, so, I mean,
not sure where they came from, just where they.
yeah, I mean, he told me just for that one building, he would do 800, so I mean, I can reach back out to him again, cause I believe he was only gonna do maybe 1,400, 1,600, something like that. But I can reach back out to him, cause I talked to him about all the dugouts as well before. He just never got back to me. I know he had some stuff going on with some kids. I know he had some 2 kids break bones, so he's playing dad and being his first job, but I can reach back out to him and get a formal contract of an offer.
Reach out and make sure we're looking at the same size guttering
Yeah,
and the same grade of guttering, mill thickness of the gutter. Like to be choosing apples against apples, not apples against oranges.
yeah.
So, you get that, we'll stick with this over here, and since you're going to be helping with us, I think we have to.
We need to get it done, or somebody else can help us power wash it, or all dugouts again next year.
Well, is it something that you can get by the next park board meeting?
Yeah, I'll message him tonight once we're done
And then
here.
you guys can vote on it at the park board
Yeah.
meeting.
And, okay. Is the Friends of the Park willing to help with this if we have to do it all? We're talking about $2,600. And it really does need to be done. I know, I've helped power wash the base of those dugouts off, they get nasty. They really do get nasty where the water drips down and the mold and everything forms.
I guess my add to that would be, we're also looking at the netting and funding for all that netting too for the foul balls, which is a bigger expense.
For, you're talking about the ones that the youth league came to us wanting us to
Yes.
improve?
Yes.
I think that's a done question. It's done been answered, we don't have the money to do it.
Fair.
And we can afford to have somebody hired to stand in the field catching those foul balls cheaper than we can put up netting. And every ballpark I go to has foul balls going into the other fields, it just happens.
Yeah.
Park board voted to accept one of the offers, one of the quotes.
Excuse me?
To get those netting put in, that was voted at the last park board, to get it done.
They voted to get it done.
We voted to accept Lamb's funding,
How
or
much
Lamb's
was
offer.
that?
18,000.
That was down both lines?
Yes. That was netting,
Poles?
concrete, everything all the way down the line.
Wow.
And that was cheaper than EAC, which was 24,000.
I could hire a lot of outfielders to stand here and kick stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem with what the youth league is having is they're barely getting people to volunteer, that are parents, to do anything. We're only charging them 10, so I mean, as long as the team's there, and if we want to grow the park, I mean, talking about you want the monument, you want people that are forward thinking. I'm forward thinking of, we should have youth fall sport, youth leagues, all-stars, everything at that park. There's gonna be a lot more hard-hitting kids coming and playing on that as they get older, and I mean, if we can full T-ball team to help assist, it's gonna be hard to watch.
Have you ever gone down to the new Albany Park, Hammersmith Park, where
I've been down there, I've also been in Salem, and I've seen foul balls go flying in Salem when the parks are spread out, but Salem still also managed to put up large nets and stuff to help reduce the amount of foul balls that go flying into their fields.
I'm gonna catch them all.
They're never gonna catch them all. MLB's still having fly balls go over their massive netting to extend from home plate all the way out into the outfield. This is just about reducing the risk and ensuring kids are safe.
if you voted on to go ahead and do it, that's no need worrying about it. Planting of trees.
Can I make a motion that we, for the gutter zone, that we can assist with that if the,
Yeah, I probably had, I guess I had. Thanks.
yeah.
You've got a motion to help with it?
Yeah, to pay up to 2,600, or if the park board can assist with that in any way financially.
Got a motion to that effect, do I have a board member that will second that? Okay, you've heard the motion, you've heard the second. Discussion. Hearing none, I'm ready for the vote. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right. Moving on, planting of trees. We talked about planting some more trees. I don't know if anybody's checked into that any further. I haven't.
I got a verbal quote from Noel Cutter for $1,000 per tree.
$1,000 per tree.
And those are brand new trees. So those would be something that would come with a warranty and he would take care of for that price.
What size tree?
Those would be probably 15 to 16 foot tall and about 5 to 7 inches around at the base. So that was his quote. Secondarily, we still have all those oak trees that were planted behind the building. Maybe if we could get somebody to spade those or just dig them with a backhoe.
And if we can get somebody with a spade, we've got a lot of dogwood trees and redbud trees up the valley where the lake's gonna go that we may as well take out of there and move. I can get permission to have that done, but, be absolutely no cost except watering them.
We'll look at the option, the other option like we talked about, is really got, instead of bringing a spade in, which is the way those trees are planted and the way they're kind of grown in. Someone maybe you have to damage certain trees or remove certain trees to get
They
them.
have to be stemmed out
anyway. But some of those we could pull out if we come up with a comprehensive plan. And not only look to kind of gird the amphitheater, but look at other selective plantings along the trails and stuff.
Yeah, along the trails where we really need them, out there along the road especially.
So I think it's a bigger plan than just shade for the amphitheater. I think it's a very comprehensive plan to use that resource.
Well, I had, Chris Kemp, our excavator down there today looking at 2 other jobs, and I mentioned it to him about scooping some out, going over there, and what they thought they could do the smaller ones, they wouldn't do any very big ones. And they said that when they come down, they'll give it a shot and see what happens.
Larry was able to do a good job with the spade when he was doing it, but you can only get one that big around. Most of them have gotten bigger than that.
Will Larry have a spade too?
He did have, I don't know if he still does.
You know,
He was thinking about getting rid of
what
it.
you gotta remember is, you spade them out, that's the right way to do it, without doubt, but they do leave a big hole. So then you have to fill the hole,
What's that?
you gotta fill the hole, you take it out.
What Larry did was spaded a hole, got tree set in that hole, took the dirt, put it in the hole where he got the tree from,
Okay. Well, that's good.
and it worked well. I worked with him down there for 2 or 3 days, and
If it's still there.
I don't know. I think maybe he may have gotten rid of it. I think you're one of the cutters that they've got one.
Yeah, Rick Cutter's told me that they still have one up there, KW does, but, so I think again, we can look at comprehensive plans, somebody can own that, and we run with it. We know we want shade around the amphitheater, work out. I don't think it's a bad price at no game,
Yeah.
but, again, using what we've got and the resource probably makes most sense to at least to try it. My opinion.
I mean, the trees are red or the trees.
They're all wide open.
We could do a little both,
Yeah, I think all of those trees back there are oaks.
yeah.
We planted those for financial future. And they're getting there. But it's one of those things, Dave, I won't see.
Mine's is a man who plants a tree and has been every day, on the next day and shows it and plants it in.
Les, while we're talking about that, we're getting an estimate, and I got an estimate coming on the work on the creek bank repair.
Okay, good. You bring it to our next meeting? Okay. Strawberry Festival.
To the comprehensive plan for that, I'll work with the park board, since the park board, you guys can lay that all out on the, where the placement of trees and we can all work on that.
Okay. Strawberry Festival, I don't think we need to do anything tonight on the Strawberry Festival, although, we do have an ongoing committee out there. Newly formed Board Development Committee, that's Brenna, Dan, and Susan. Don't forget your duties, and that time's gonna be on us before you know it.
Do we know who is running out this year, whether we usually wait?
We can tell you very easily, yes. And, but I'm not gonna do that now, we'll tell you. Gates for entrances off Haywood. We've had all kinds of things talked about there, and I want to make a comment to start with, and then everybody can jump on it. Every park I've been around to in southern Indiana, unless it's a major entrance gate, has basically a cable or a chain. And I like our chain and log binder that we have on the one gate. It's so easy to use, and it does the job, and it's inexpensive, and it's not a main gate. The main gate is over where our big rock is. That's my feelings now. Let's talk about gates for the entrances of Haywood.
Did the gates get returned,
Yes. They
Okay,
were returned.
so we're not out of money at all at this point?
Not yet.
So we could just keep things the way they are, is that what?
Well, we need to add one chain, I think. I don't think we have one.
Okay,
And they can be cut off.
wonderful.
Now, I know we've looked at some gates, and I think the park board may have some prices on gates.
Park board?
Speak up, and we'll tell you what we're gonna pay for.
I was just looking to see what I didn't write down.
It was, Chris,
Yeah.
it was 1400, a little bit over 14.
Yes, we looked at the other, a bigger cattle gate, right?
No, it was a-
Not cattle gate, but
It was like what you had.
extendable gate,
same
yeah,
thing
just
as the
longer,
state park gate.
just gate.
They come together in the middle.
Yeah.
Did you ever close one of those when the wind was blowing?
I have, they're not fun.
Especially if you're by yourself, they're impossible. If you put them in, the first time I go down there and I can't shut them, I'm gonna leave them open to call somebody and say, shut your damn gate.
I have a silly question, what is the exact reason that we need the gate?
Before we put up the chain, people just drove in and out of there at will.
But since then, like, the
Yeah.
chain has resulted in no one here, right?
Without
Long as
something
everybody
up
puts
there,
it back
people
up.
drive in, park behind the amphitheater, go to the bathroom, whatever. Just keep now. But the chain works fine, I use it today, I like it.
We just need one down the
for $25, we could put up, a cable would be a lot nicer. Instead of running over the chain, that changes the length, you know, and, but
Either way.
The log binder works so easy, and if we have to lock it, we can put a lock on it.
I could go up there and side by side, and I pull that close enough, I could reach out, flip that thing off and drop it without even getting out of the side by side. Now, I gotta get out and put it back up, but.
We may have been talking about a gate that made the whole length. So you only have one gate. You had that same gate that made the whole length. You could open and
So
close.
if you're on the inside trying to come out, you park about 20 feet away and hope you don't hit your grill.
But there was also a question on the length of where the
How
pole
far
was
off
gonna
from the
go
pole?
and how some of the trailers would be swinging in for like the strawberry festival.
Yeah, we don't wanna go any
We can't go
narrower than
there.
what it is.
No.
Cause some of them
That's
have,
what we said, yeah.
some of them are having trouble with the opening as it is, so.
I know the gates were approved before I got on the parks board, before anything happened, I don't know, we're coming in on this and I don't know what's going on. But, I mean,
Well-
we never officially voted on anything other than to return.
I don't know how my board really feels about paying a big price for a gate.
Yeah,
But I know how I feel, and I've aired it, and if my board feels differently, they need to let me know that right now.
Yeah. The park board voted on it, and there was gonna be $600.
And if the park
And they
board
were gonna pay
wants
the
to do it,
difference,
that's
and they
fine.
were gonna do it. That was what the vote was.
okay.
And the $800 difference. If they said that they-
I remember,
$679 is how much we returned.
Okay. it was
The gates
$800.
are 1,400.
Okay, that back.
We got it, yeah. So they voted, the park board voted to move forward with the gates, and they would pay the difference of what we, the friends, saying it as a friend right now,
Had already
paying,
paid.
yes,
yes,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
Yep, yep.
I remember that, cause you did say that, yeah.
yes.
I mean, I love spending money, but I think we can save money here.
Well, here's a question,
I mean, what,
Absolutely, 100%.
Les, out there at Strawberry Festival, we got people going in and out there all day long. What are we gonna do with the gates that are gonna be in the way?
Exactly.
Well, do we have any history since we put up the chains of people going in there?
No.
We have not had anybody go through the chain
So the
and
chain's
break
working,
it.
so the chain is working.
Yes.
So it's just not, people just don't like the look of it, is that
I
it?
don't know. Every park I go to has chains and cables.
And it works so much easier than getting out and walking the gate all the way around and tying it open so it don't swing into your truck when you're.
Well, and then, like I say, when we have an event down there, you're gonna be walking around it all day. Driving around it and everything.
Where's that chain, you can take it all to one post and drop it down there and.
Right.
So can we just update the chain and cable if this is what we need to do?
Well, what we would need to do
We
with the
had-
friends is if
take it
we
under
would
advisement.
just say that we wouldn't, we don't wanna put any money towards the gates. That's what the friends would say. And then the park board, if they wanna put up the gates, they can put up the gates, but they gotta pay for all the gates.
We'll take it back to the parks board.
Yes.
How about that?
Yeah. But you also can take back the verbiage that there isn't really any.
I guess we
issue with
voted
the chain.
originally to spend so much money towards gates, is that what we
Yes.
really did?
Yes.
Yeah. Are we now going to make a motion not to spend any money on the gates since it hasn't been spent? I need a motion to that effect if that's the case.
First motion.
I got a motion. Do I have a second? Did I hear second? All right. All in favor of said motion not to spend any money other than for a cable or chain and a log binder? Please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Park board, you're on your own.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's what we were just saying, I think it all came about a long
Okay.
time ago.
Talked with Gabe, it was one of my first parks board meetings, so I just kind of,
Do we have other old business?
Right.
I don't know, I don't think so.
New business. I understand we got some update on basketball court lights.
champion that.
I'll give a slight update. I was down there, new nets have been put up, and the new nets just came off every day. So I've been up there multiple times, putting the nets back up, twisting the nets, changing the nets. I think the nets are up there where they will stay. And I was down there one night, which I hadn't been down there in a long time, and honestly, it seems fine to me. I don't know that, honestly, anything needs, I don't know that the new cost represents a change in anything. That there's enough people down there playing at nighttime that it needs to be, which was what,
So,
something?
basically with Robert going to Joe McNew, and asking him to come and look, Joe McNew said, for the idea that the Parks Board had asked of going more stadium style lighting, because the lights that are up there are more looking like it's for a parking lot than to support like a sports court or field or anything. He said that the lighting pole there would not support it, and that we basically need to take the poles up and do wooden poles to do those lights, and it would cost $4,300.
That the light, they would change the lights,
We
but
just
that
have to
our
cover
current
that.
pole would not support the lights they would change it to.
Right, I understand that, the lights that we have there, if they weren't covering half of the street
Yeah.
and the grass behind the courts would be well lit. It's where the lights are located.
Behind.
It's simple. Move the lights back where they were designed to go.
When I was down there putting them nets up, I could see the net and rim and everything just fine, the way they are now. Everything is okay.
I've fought this long enough, let's move on to something else.
I have a question though. Do you think those rims will be updated, like when they fall off?
When the rims will be
Yeah.
updated?
There will, that'll be going to the Parks Board meeting. When I was up there,
Okay.
when I was up there putting the nets on and everything, they are getting rough. There's a lot of rust. Those are some older basketball goals and rims. They are getting rough. So it's
None
something
of
that,
my baskets went in, none of my balls went in the basket. So there's clearly a rim issue.
Well, the rims, I think the rims
that
are up
was
there.
not the issue.
I think the rims that are up there are what's called Herculean rims.
Yes.
You can hang on those rims no matter how big you are, and you're not gonna bend them. One of the few parks around it, that's the case.
They are.
That's why those rims are there.
Right, and I agree. I hate them, I hate shooting on them, but I understand why they're there.
These rims
Same
right
here.
up here, same kind of rims, they've been there forever.
Yeah, they've been there for a long time, since I was.
Never been bent.
The trouble is the backboards on the back, the bolts, a lot of them are getting very rusty.
Well, that's maintenance.
Yeah.
That's for you guys.
Yes, yeah.
Wanna make sure anything
We haven't heard on it in years.
And that's what I said, that is something to think about in the future.
Yeah.
That's gonna be coming sometime.
But
Attend those meetings.
we as the Friends, we didn't have funding for that.
Right.
Maintenance.
No.
We have money here.
Parks Board voted no, Denise.
All right.
You can attend the meeting if you can make a free throw.
Not no rims.
Yeah.
Or show.
Trunk or treat?
Trump, not Trump. Okay, trunk or treat, it's October 18th from 5 to 7. Trump.
No, I wouldn't mention his name.
I know, calm down. Put your hat on. It'll be a little So, last year we decided to partner again this year with, First Christian Church. Mike and I have been working together, so it's October 18th from 5 to 7. And basically it's just people signing up to hand out candy. There's gonna be food handed out, bouncy houses, so,
And you got permission from the park board.
yeah. I
that's gonna be on us really before we know it. We gotta start making some plans if we haven't already. Do we have a basic light up board and committee?
No, cause now it's just me, it's you left.
It's you
And Denise.
and Denise. Well, we've got a
And Chris,
basic
Chris is
committee.
in the restroom, so Chris is on it.
We do have a basic committee.
Now Kathy does wanna do the bridge, so.
I did leave, but I will commit to decorating the bridge. I will commit to that, so we don't have to spend any funds on doing it.
I know it's only September, but, the end of November will be here before we know it.
And so we were gonna do it the 23rd, the
Usually
weekend,
the Sunday
I don't know.
the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
And that's what
I
the
do need
committee's
permission,
up there for.
I do need permission to put the lights up on the bridge early, because I don't know how it's gonna be going to the place. So if I can get permission to put the lights on the bridge. Thank you. Thanks, Mama, that's why I'm at Mother's Day.
Memories.
All right, I take it that the committee is gonna continue to work on that and.
I'd like to make a motion to look into hiring out more of the lights being done. Like some of we did last year. A lot of our lights were shot this last year, we're way down on our lights.
Can we
Yeah,
get
I
some
see.
quote from those light people?
So,
Yeah, cause I'm looking for sponsors for doing the town anthem here.
Can I write that down in my notes?
Yeah,
When we get
yeah.
close? Okay.
I have no problem with that.
Ideally, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If somebody's gonna get this quote for the lights, when would they be put up then? Is this the same time as Kathy's Bridge?
Well, they would, oh,
I can speak from history if it's difficult.
yeah, that's fine.
So, last year, was it last year? Yes, last year we got quotes and the year before we got quotes. The year before we got quotes, and we were basically before the interior was done. And we were looking at the overall park on this side so that we could create impact, because if you gather it all in one place, you got more impact. And that quote with the bridge was gonna be $35,000. That was 2 years ago, we said no. Last year, they got a quote and looked into thinking, how much? Last year, we did have help.
It was
10,000.
7,000 at the park and 3,000 down here.
So basically, $10,000 is what they spent, the friends spent to have here and what we had down at the park. We were a little bit disappointed with the bridge, because we didn't do the bridge the way that they
You
said
did
they were
it.
going to do. Well, or even what we requested. So, just an FYI, Mona, it won't be cheap. So it's like, if you get any bids between $10,000 and $11,000, that's how much it will cost to make an impact. The group that we had actually does Light Up Bardstown. Has anybody ever been to Light Up Bardstown in Bardstown? It's absolutely gorgeous, but it's expensive. So it's all how much money you can raise to cover the cost of the road. And they will put them up and take them down, but you've gotta get it now, because you gotta get that going right now, because they get this. And they will put up early, you just don't have to light it until it's time. They will put all the lights up early, you can get the timer the way.
And they take them down whenever everything's done.
Well, actually, what they use at the park and they use here at the town from last year, they have the totes ready to go up again. So,
We get to keep that, like,
we don't get to keep it,
Okay.
but they have them organized for us
Okay.
to use every year.
yeah,
I don't know, but I was wondering that. when-
Yeah, that's true.
Since the cost go down, we're gonna.
Yeah.
The cost went down this year, by the contract, so it reflects the biggest was that they could buy.
Yeah, because they had to buy a bunch of it.
So it dropped down.
To match, yeah.
And there was no impact to the town, what was the impact to the bridge? Most of it was done.
Yeah, most of, I mean, it was maybe 1,000 or something. that
Plus your
raised.
family.
Yeah, they did 3, but then Temple did a big chunk too. Yeah, 3 7 then they did that. But I'm working on that. But I can see when they can do that prior to, because we have to work in their schedule, so.
Or we sort of still, are we wanting to add to what they're doing, or?
You still have your trees that are still in good shape, that can go at everything, you still have your snowflakes that are still in good shape, that can go above the
Those
trees.
13 trees.
And then there are snowflakes that can still go up on the, cause that was extra that we did. That can go up on the pathway going up to the, amphitheater. So,
Maybe we can get the park board to help with maybe putting the trees up and the stars up at each pole.
Some of those trees were old. About shot.
I don't know.
There's,
I didn't take them down.
had a rough winter, there's a lot of wind.
Oh, yeah, I took them down, me and Jacqueline,
You've got
Ryan
them
took
right
them
and
down.
take them down.
Yeah, they need to be flushed, I think that's, I don't know.
Well, even if something's wrong with the trees and we don't work, maybe we don't use the trees, maybe we just put the lights up at each pole, the snowflakes. Or maybe we could, the park board.
On those trees wouldn't be fresh.
All of the trees would have a cave in the side of them where we pushed them up against the post. And then,
I thought those ones on the one side were fine, we did throw a bunch away last year.
yeah, the ones over on the other side, they were in bad shape. I thought the 13 poles was not too bad.
And you did have the school choir, have they, just in that way?
I put out a message here, but I haven't heard back from them.
Okay, let's, see what we can get done on this between now and the next meeting. We still got a little time. Other new business.
I didn't do agenda, I was thinking up here.
Oh, that's it.
That's it?
With that, we are going to bring the Friends of the Park meeting to a close. And we've got some
Well, I just wanted,
comments to make, I think you do, don't you?
yeah, cause that's why the park board's here and the town is here and everything like that too. It's just, yeah.
First of all, I would like to have a motion to end Friends of the Park meeting. Sure. All right. Second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, this meeting has been adjourned. Moving on to what Brenna has for all of us.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to.
Next meeting, by the way, will be October the 6th. And it says 6:30 on here, but that's one thing we do need to solve. I think with the weather coming like it is, we need to move to 7 o'clock. Give our two people that come from outside a chance to get here. And, most meetings start a little later than 6:30 anyway. How about 7 o'clock, James? Do I hear this drone? 7 o'clock it will be.
What's that? I'll message, I got a message.
I'm trying.
Or send them your way. You can send them to you or. You did. I can't remember, I just, I looked at it.
Yeah, I think the message, Friends of the Park.
Alright, yeah, I'll do that. Chris and I are meeting once a year, because
We really shouldn't have to, because I've got them, but it's secretary duty to do it.
anything's pulled up.
Yeah, and we'll have to.
Okay, are we gonna go over this paper here?
Yeah, well,
No, she's saying that's
no,
what
so there's been a lot of questions asked, how does the park board operate with the Friends board? How does it go from the top to the bottom and everything? So I just made a quick little chart, just to, I mean, we don't have to go over it now if we don't want to, but so you guys understand whose role's what. So, probably should have done these.
Well, I think everybody got one.
Yeah, so that's how it is, if you guys wanna just look it over, and that's how the roles and responsibilities are. We can just go.
See if Alice says it.
I'm done. So, Robert,